All right, something I was never thinking of ever doing for the channel is I'm gonna show you how I make my lasagna. This basically is done because I don't know. I mean, maybe one day my kids will regret not asking me for the recipe. So I'm gonna put it on YouTube, and anyone could enjoy it if they wish. Today I'm gonna make my meat sauce, and we'll assemble it tomorrow, and so I'll continue doing it. But for the meat sauce, I use a blend of pork, 3 pounds. This is from Costco. The 10-pound pack of beef, basil, fresh basil, garlic. I'll need a little bit of sugar. I have onions. I'll be using a little bit of port. You could use red wine. I have some beef stock. I have some chili flakes that I'll add in, very little. I have some paprika that I'll add just to give it a little smokiness. And probably the most important item is this tomato sauce. It has less liquid in it, so it will make the meat sauce tastier. Plus, the product itself is great. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to brown off the pork and the beef. Then I will drain the oil from the pan, and then I will have my vegetables in. Now, yes, I only have one onion here. I have more. I could add a carrot and a celery. I probably will today. But if I want, it's just onions, garlic, and basil. But you're free to use celery and carrots. I, once in a blue moon, will even put in zucchini, but not today. So, yeah, we'll get that going. And we'll see where it goes. So as you see, we're browning off the beef and the pork. You're going to see a lot of liquid in here. All that liquid is going to be strained out. Do not put it in your drain pipe. It will plug your plumbing. So please have a container. Put it into that container. Let it harden, and then you can put it in with your food waste. So I strain my meat in a colander in a bowl so I get the fat out in the bottom. And then magically, because of these lovely McDonald's takeout cup, when I'm finished with coffee, if I ever have one, guess what? It goes in here. We went through 4 of them. All right, well, almost there. I'm on my last batch. Just waiting for the last little piece. I'm not going to chop my veggies. I'm going to use my food processor. I'm going to use 5 onions, a whole bunch of garlic, 2 celeries, and 2 carrots. It's not necessary for the celery and carrots. I'm just going to change it up a little bit. The sugar and the paprika and the peppers will be added later. Just, excuse me. I will put in the basil with the onion because I just like to give it a little more of a flavor. Oh my, we are now pureed our vegetables. So our vegetables are pureed. I do this, I don't know why, maybe because when my kids were little or myself, I didn't want a big chunk of vegetables in my pasta sauce, and it turned out this way. And especially you have kids that don't want to eat certain things, because you could do whatever you want. I mean, you could put, I sometimes put a zucchini in here, but today I just kept it very simple. It would have actually been simpler if I didn't put the carrots and the celery in it. The basil is what's giving it the green color. So, and yeah, I have 3 pots going because that's how much meat sauce I gotta make. All right, so let's get put the beef back in and start this thing up. All right, the port has been added. It's not much. I'm gonna turn up the heat a bit because I'm gonna start wanting to brown the bottom of my pan. I don't know if this makes sense to any of you. If you're a cook, you will understand. I'm gonna start deglazing the beef that get kind of cooked onto the bottom of it. It's not burnt. It's going to be used with the beef stock. I'll probably pour a couple ounces of each one, and just to scrape and get all that flavor that's going to accumulate on the bottom of the pan. Okay, so you'll see all that here. Once that liquid dries out, it's time to give that little burn look on the bottom of the pan. So when I add the beef stock, that will loosen up all that flavor, and we'll just keep adding it into the stock. I'll use the whole liter for all 3 containers here. Obviously, I'll separate it what needs more or not. and I'll just go with it. It just, to me, adds a little bit extra flavor. It might be hard to see, but as you see the liquid on the bottom, it's going to be hard to show you how it will evaporate, but it will, I promise you. And then I probably use half a liter for all three right now. And then when that evaporates and gets down to nothing on the bottom, when the bottom of the pan dries out, I will add the other half, and then I'll get to the finishing touches of the meat sauce. So as you will see, there is a lot of the evaporation taking place right now with the steam coming up. I have turned it up quite high. I want to get that liquid out, because this is where you don't want this meat sauce to be liquidy. For a bolognese, or if you're going to use it for a pasta, I probably wouldn't start to try to evaporate it as much as I am right now. But for lasagna, I just want it to be a little more dry, and so it doesn't get soggy, and it's a nice thick, tasty lasagna. Alright, I added about a teaspoon of chili flakes into both of the smaller ones, maybe a teaspoon and a half for this one, about 2 for here. I'm now going to add more liquid. Yeah, I don't measure, I just do stuff. I've done this too much. That's about it. I'm going to use the back one more for probably a meat sauce. I'll probably just save that, and these two are going to be used for the lasagna, which I'll... Okay, so just an update. I have still been cooking it. I know you're not seeing the whole cooking process. I have put the third pan into both pans, just for the fun of it. You'll notice there is a lot of liquid in here still, but it's okay. To me, it's all stock, or the variations of just the fat that's still breaking down. So I'm just getting that flavor into the meat. So I think I started this at about, I don't know, maybe 11:30. Like the whole, just starting to cook it. But this part here, since I put all the veggies and the beef into it, I would say it's been about 20 minutes so far. I'll probably let it go for another 10-15 minutes, and then I'll add my tomato sauce, and I'll add some sugar and smoked paprika at the time. So it's just right now, I'm just trying to cook this, and it will cook for a majority of the day. It will be on a burner. So I have 2 different sizes of these cans and 2 different varieties. The fire roasted tomatoes or the peeled tomatoes are the 2 that I like to use the most. This is good. It has more liquid. It's a whole tomato, and I will puree that in the food processor if I need it. It has more liquid in it. We use the San Marino tomatoes. You'll see it marked on the can, so I don't know if you can't find this brand in your hometown or wherever you're from. Just look for a good quality product. There's this product of USA here, and then this is the product of Italy. Explain that one to me. Alright, lesson learned. This is what happens when I don't read my product when I go shopping, and I just grab the container that I think what I'm looking for. Product of USA, fryer roasted tomatoes is not what I wanted. Luckily, I had a whole bunch of these in my drawer. These are what I want. I want the product of Italy, Italian peeled tomato with basil leaf. I had to divide my pan up, and guess what, folks? My fire roasted tomatoes are going to be just for tomato sauce only. I will not be adding this one into my lasagna. Lesson learned. Alright, we are now complete. Last thing I have to do is put a little sugar in it. I put the paprika in it, just a little bit. Maybe a tablespoon, or teaspoon, and about a teaspoon and a half for the big one. That's the fire smoked roasted tomato sauce. It actually smells really good, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm not going to use that for the lasagna. I don't want to take a chance because I've never tried it before. So if later today, if it actually tastes okay, or if it tastes similar to the others, the other batch, I'll consider using that if I need to as a backup sauce. So that's about it, folks. Now it's 1:30. So I'll somehow come back and later on and show you what time this is still on. I'm going to turn this right down really low, and I'll show you how long I cook it for. On the TV shows, they say do it for about 2 hours. Okay, I don't need overwhelming tomatoes. I want more of a meat, and I want this liquid out. I don't want liquid like this. Right, that is, yeah, you could use it. I mean, if you're going to use it for a home like just a simple one meal thing, you could buy oven ready pasta noodles, and I do have those too. And you could actually probably use that as a liquid base instead of adding stock into your noodles. So save a step, I guess. So let's turn everything really low. This one I'll keep a little higher. And this one I want on low. So we're all down now. We're just going to let it sit and simmer. All right. So it's 3:30. In 2 hours. I'm still going to do this for a little bit. I'm now turn everything. We have it at so low. I don't know what I'm doing here. Everything's boiling like crazy. Anyhow, I wish you could taste it through the video. Absolutely delicious. All three of them. I have to admit, even the fire roasted one is good. Jan is complaining it's not so tomatoey, but I don't want it tomatoey. It's not the whole thing is not about being tomato based. So if you want, you can do a little pot like this. I think it's 4 quarts or whatever it is. You could do a pound of beef, pound of pork, and a pound of veal if you could get it, ground veal. Break it apart. Put in what I showed you if you care for that. If you want to add anything, I don't know. I would try this first time around and then try doing your own variety if there's something that floats your boat differently. I really enjoy this. It's just a simple. It's almost like a bolognese. It's a little more watery. Obviously, you don't put as much tomato into a bolognese. It would just be a little bit of tomato paste with the beef, and I wouldn't make a big portion like this. But the big thing is that you have to let it cook. Okay, you have to let it cook. They say 2 hours. You know what? I will be honest with you. This will probably sit here for another 2 hours. This one looked good. I like this, although I don't have it up as high. And this one you can just see. Look at all. You see that? This pan in the back. This shows you the difference. If you see the little difference here, you got just a little bit of a ring. That's how much the liquid evaporated. On this one, which is the Italian tomato. On this one back here, you had the American tomatoes. It doesn't matter. You could use Hunt's or whatever if you care for it. I just want you to realize there's more liquid in those things, and you want to get that liquid out as much as you can when you make a lasagna so it's a little drier and it doesn't fall apart. Again, when I said earlier, if you use the oven ready lasagna noodle, maybe you could use that liquid instead of adding a liquid into it, and it should work out fine. Tomorrow when I complete this thing, I will make the bechamel for you guys, and then we will put it all together, and then I'll explain what I do. I made some not long ago, and I gave some to some people who I know as a gift for one, a gift for both really, and one was my boss at Expedia who let me go there and work with her, and she was a wonderful person. Made it for her. She used it for her family. And another was my physiotherapist who's been seeing me for almost a year. A wonderful family. And it was his birthday around the time I made it, so they used it up for his birthday dinner. And I always joke that I'll make a video for this. I was thinking of doing it, like I said earlier, just something I wanted to do maybe for the kids one day that they could see how it's done. Alright, it's 4:40. You know what? It's looking good. I'm gonna call it. It smells delicious. So that's it for this. We're gonna put them in a container, cool it off for the night, and they will be used tomorrow when we make lasagna. All right. So today we're gonna make the lasagna. The next step after I made the meat sauce yesterday is we're gonna make a cream sauce or a bechamel. You need flour, butter. You don't need cream if you're going to do a roux, but I use mix. I have whole milk and cream. I add onion powder and garlic powder into my roux. a little different, but that's what I do, and it gives that cream sauce just a little bit of flavor. So let's get to it. I'm going to heat the butter and the flour together. So I'm going to melt the butter first. I'm going to use equal amount of butter or fat. If you want to use olive oil, you can, I guess. And an equal amount of flour to make the roux. Okay? Very important. So we'll heat up the pan. We'll show what it looks like once I get it there, and then I'll show you what I do. So we're going to use half a cup of butter. Yes, I'm making almost a full pot. This is the pot I used for the sauce yesterday. So when you're making a roux, it's extremely important. Once they add the flour into it and have it all mixed in, and I'll have a clip of it later. There's two ways of doing it. In culinary school, they tell you to put the roux aside, heat up your liquid, and then slowly add the roux into the liquid. Or you could do it this way too. You could have your roux hot, and then you add cold liquid. Hello? Look who wants to be my helper. Hey, why are you trying to help me? I added some garlic powder and some onion powder. You could add whatever you like. There goes my flour. And now we're going to mix this. I'm sorry, I don't have the proper video stuff to do this, but you'll see. I'm going to mix this together and I'll get back to you. Alright, you kind of want this paste looking, okay? You want to cook it a little bit. I want to get it hot, because when I add the liquid, you're going to see what happens. This is really hard to do. I wish I had a suction on this phone. But like I said, this is totally something I never thought of ever doing. But I figured if I'm going to let you guys decide if you ever want to make this and try it, and go from there. Alright, so now I'm going to add the cold liquid. It's a little bit at a time. And you got to mix. And this is going to start turning into like a glue. So we're going to do this until we don't want it to be clumpy. Start off, you should put just a little bit, and then you could add more liquid as it gets easier to blend in. Thank you, honey, for holding the camera for me. Turn down the heat just a touch. Showing more of this because this is important. See, I pick up my paste because I don't want it to clump. Like I said, you see it's starting to look like a smooth paste. Now some of the brown clumps, that's just the garlic powder. I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, it's nice. Add a little more. I'm going to go slowly because I don't want to splash everywhere. And when it incorporates into the flour better, then I'll get more. But it gets easier as the volume increases from the flour. Well, this is almost the last stage before we assemble the pasta. So I hope to have a good, almost a full pot. Now if you see it looks a little clumpy, which it is, this is fine. You could use a whisk later, and the whisk will get out the clump. Now if it's not all out, I wouldn't panic. You're not going to be serving this on pasta or like at a presentation. It goes inside the lasagna and you'll never know, I promise. Okay, so that's about it. I'm going to keep doing this because this is going to take a little while. So, but that's the process of getting this roux going. So you want to cook it a little bit every time you add milk because you want it to thicken up as you go along. It is a process where you do mix quite a bit, so you cannot walk away from it and come back to it afterwards. I guess I should have told you, it's 8:56 right now at this stage, so I only think I've been doing this for about 4 minutes. But I don't know if you could tell, if you could see it's just like a little bit thicker. I did turn the heat back up to number 3, only because I wanted to cook that flour in. So as the flour cooks, it will thicken up. So, you know, we'll see where it goes. We'll show you the end product. Alright, so as my bechamel is cooking away, these are the cheeses I use. Parmigiano Reggiano. Okay, don't buy the Parmesan. If you're going to use Parmesan, use Parmesan Reggiano. You can buy it at Costco. I think it cost me, what, 25 bucks Canadian for was it 2 pounds? So almost equivalent to what it is in the States. I like Asiago, so I do use Asiago cheese also. I'll be using the whole brick. I like pecorino. I just like a little bit of pecorino. Okay, not pecorina, but pecorino. So if you're Italian, or if you're not Italian, make sure you ask for pecorino. I won't say what pecorina is. And mozzarella cheese. I have more, but you could buy the blocks and shred it yourself. But it's just so much mozzarella cheese that I just buy the packages from Costco. I will have this ready to go, and hopefully my sauce will be thickened up, and we'll start putting it together. Alright, as you can see, this is more of a saucy base now. When a nice sauce will coat the back of your spoon. Beautiful. Smells good. It's about 9:50. You won't be making this much. If anything, you're making a small pot like that. This shouldn't take you that long. A cheat sheet, or like a tip or a little cheating code you could do if your flour and your roux is not thick enough after you add all your milk or cream, whatever you decide to use. You could always use a little bit of cornstarch with a cold liquid. So if you want it thicker, just add, I don't know, a teaspoon depending how much you're making. A little bit of water, just blend it with your fingers before you put it in, don't just drop it in. And bring it to a boil. And your sauce, any sauce, should be a little thicker. So if you don't like flour, or you're allergic to flour, you could just put cream in here, heat it up, and yes, you could use cornstarch to thicken it. Again, if you're going to use the cornstarch, please put it into a jar or like a bowl. Mix it with a cold liquid, not hot. It has to be cold. Blend it together with your flour or your finger so there's no clumps in it, and then pour it into your mix and bring it to a boil. Okay. Some people will have a heart attack, but you're never going to know the difference. The cream sauce, yes, that's all the meat sauce. and the cheeses. So we'll be getting it all ready in a minute, waiting for the water to boil. So like I said, I pre-blanched some of my noodles, and the assembly will begin. Okay, that's the first step. Then I'll add meat. Okay, that's how I do it. I can spread it out. So if it was a little more runny, it would spread out a little bit better, but once it heats up with everything, it will be a little simpler. Now I'm going to add my bechamel, or cream sauce. Alright, that amount of bechamel. And now I'll add my 3 cheeses, with mozzarella being the most for pecorino, just a little bit, probably not even all of that. I mean, I'll do all of that. This is my Asiago. And give or take the same amount of Parmesan. Maybe a little less, because I don't want it overwhelming. And now the mozzarella. As you can see, it's a lot more mozzarella. And I'll probably do a little bit more. Alright, so that is my one layer, the top layer of the lasagna. What we're going to do, we're going to add more noodles to this, and we're just going to keep building the lasagna. Alright, that is layer 2. It's the same routine, same stuff, the meat, the cream sauce, and the 3 cheeses. You could add any cheese you like. Cheddar is a little oily, so I don't use cheddar. If I do, it's very little, but I don't have it this time. That is the 3rd layer. One more to go, and this one is complete, and then we have a bunch more to do. Alright, that is it. That's the 4-layer lasagna. One last little thing I do, not always, but I will today, just take a knife and poke holes through it. And that is going to be yummy, yummy, yummy. So there you go. So when I cook this, I put it in the oven at 250, and I leave it in there actually for about 3 to 4 hours. The 250 won't I don't even cover it. And then the very last minute, I'll turn on high heat, maybe even the broiler, just to brown the cheese on top. And that, my friend, is it. I have a picture of a previous one I'll add in just to show you what it looks like when it's finished. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys try this. If you do try it, let me know what you think. Okay, there you go. 4 of them. With the big boy. Merry Christmas. Ah.